So yesterday we talked about like EC2 and how we can create users and how we can add users to the sudoers file so that user can be an administrator like a root user, right? And today what we are going to learn today, we are going to learn the file permissions, basically how we can create a files. We know how we can create a files. Touch is the command to create a file, right? Simple. And also we will change the file permissions, like what. So for example, let me ask you a question. Actually, a computer will have a lot of files, right? Like how many types of file systems in the computer, basically? Like what you will see when you open a computer, you will see like what you can see barely.
Directories and files.
Exactly, only directories and files, right? Only directories and files. You won't have anything other than directories and files.
We'll have this apps installed there.
Stack is the zip file, right? You'll be downloading a zip file and you are installing. And when you install that one, it's a package, .png file or whatever the file. .zip file, .yar file, .tar file, it's a file. End of the day, it's a file, right? Yeah. So you will have only files and folders. Let's see how to identify a file and how to identify a folder. Let's see. So now who am I right now? I'm EC2 user, right? Okay, I'm EC2 user. Now create a file. What is the command to create a file? Okay, touch, and I'm going to give file 1.txt. This is a text file. Let's say this is a text file. And create a folder. What is the command to create a folder? mkdir, create a folder 1. Right? Now, if I do ls-la, that means long list. Let's do it. ls-ltr. Okay. So, can you guys look at this actually? Look at this part actually. And let me copy this. Copy this. And let me paste this one. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Let me paste this one. Now we are going to have fun with it. So, can someone tell me like how can you identify a file or a directory?
Maybe directory. It starts with dr wx, the starting line.
Okay.
And directory all the time we use as a folder, right? We won't write it as a text.
Okay.
Like a file.
Okay. And let's go here again, and let's do touch and test ls-lrt. Now this test, I don't have any extension to this test file. So can I call it as a directory?
No.
No, right?
No, because the two means my assumption is, I told you, right, two things. The first thing is, if it is a directory, it will start. If it is a like folder, it will start with the D. Okay. Like a directory. Yeah, that's good. That's a good answer actually. Can you guys see like this EC2 user, this EC2 user, and you see that the EC2 user? Mm-hmm. Do you know any idea like who is that guy? Like what is that guy? Any idea?
Created by and was modified by.
Yeah. So this is the owner of this file. Okay, this user is the owner for this file. Okay, and this person is the owner group. So this user belongs to this group. In Linux, a user itself is a group. Each and every user should be attached to at least one group. Does that make sense?
No.
Okay. So basically, a user get permissions based on the group. Okay. Let's say there is a DevOps group, or there is a Linux administrator group, right? Now that Linux administrator group will have access to Jenkins, GitHub, AWS, everything. Now we hire a new person and we need to give the same DevOps permissions to that person. What we can do, we can simply attach that user to that group. How we can add a user to that group? Using wheel -a-g add to the group, right?
Mhm.
That's what we did. Okay, and let's go back to our topic, and I can explain that. So remember one thing: a user itself is a group in Linux, and every user should be attached to at least one group. Okay, make sure remember that one. But I will tell you what does that means.
Vishnu, here you are not assigned to any group. By default, it is showing the same user, right?
Yeah, if you are not assigned to any group, you are itself is a group.
Group, yeah, that's all. Okay.
Yeah, you are itself is a group.
Yeah, that is the reason we are seeing the same.
Same
replication.
group, EC2 user, EC2 user. Okay,
Right.
same group. And we are going to change that one. Just bear with me. It should be it is very easy. And you are going to be like, what? Vishnu, are you serious? This is what you're telling us? Do you think we are kids? Okay. So if you look at this file, right? If you look at this file, you see that how many dashes you see? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right?
Mhm.
How many you see? 10, right? Let's separate them. Actually, you know what? Let's separate them. Okay. Okay. So now I have separated them. Okay. The first, by default, you will see 10 dash or 10 hyphens, whatever you can call. Okay. Those 10 characters will tell you like what exactly this file is. Okay. The first character will tell you whether this is file or a directory. If you see directory, and this is a directory. If you see dash, and this is a file. Okay, let's confirm with that. You see that? So the first one is a directory, right? Because it starts with a D. This one, even though it doesn't have any extension like a txt, png, jpg, it's still a file, right? Starts with a dash. Are we clear with that?
Yes.
Okay, we are clear with that. So the next thing, the next 3 characters will tell you the permissions of the owner. Okay, the permissions of the owner. The next 3 characters will tell you the permissions of the owner. R means read, W means write. Okay, dash means 0. If this guy has a X, that means executable. Read, write, executable. The owner permissions, the first three letters will tell you the owner permissions. And the second three letters will tell you the owner group permissions. Okay. And the last three letters will tell you the permissions for everybody. Whoever is have access to this server, their permissions. Does that make sense? No?
Repeat once again, Vishnu.
Okay. So, are we good with this first one?
Yes, yes.
We are good. Now, let me go back to my next one. So we have 10 characters, right? Let's say 10 characters, right? Let's take 10 just normal characters. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? And we'll do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is for file, and this is for folder. Okay. So we are good with this first character, right? If the first character is a dash, this is a file. If the first character is D, this is a directory. Are we good with that?
Yes.
Okay. Now divide the remaining 9 characters into 3 parts. Okay. And what could be the possible values for these 3 dash actually? The only possible value, if you want to have one value here, this shouldn't be just a dash, it should be a value. That value will be R. That means readable permissions. Okay. If you don't want dash here, you want a value instead of dash, and the only value that can be W, that can be a write. And I don't want dash, and I want to have value that can be only executable value, X. Same thing. Read, write, X. Read, write, X. Okay. So these first 3 values, these first 3 in our 10, we got the first value. It will tell you whether file or directory. Done. The next 3 values will tell you the permissions of the owner for this file. Owner. Who is the owner for this file? Can you guys tell me from here who is the owner for this file?
Is it user?
This is the owner for this file. So this guy has these permissions right now. Read, write permissions for this file. Okay. The next 3 will tell you the owner group. Who is the owner group for this file?
File.
This guy is the owner group.
Get the same one. Is it user?
Okay. And what about these 3? Those 3 permissions for everybody. Everybody in the sense, let's say we added 5 users, right? Yesterday we added 5 users. Okay. Those 5 users have access to any shared folder, for example. And if they have this file in that shared folder, they cannot read or they cannot write, but they can just use it if they have R permissions. Okay. Does that make sense? No? Okay.
Kind of.
I think good, I think.
No. I want exceptional. If you guys If you understood, you had a question already. Hey, how I can change that permissions? Like, is there any way that I can change the permissions? For example, I want full permissions to the owner, and I want full permissions to the owner group, but I don't want any permissions to that other people who has access to this computer. How I can change it? Is there any way, Vishnu, we can change it? That is the question actually.
Yes, Vishnu.
So are we good with these three values? Read, write, execute, read, write, execute, read, write, execute. Are we good with it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So this R value, the read value, will be always 2. The write value will be 4. The notation, it will be noted as number 4. The X value will be noted as number 1. If you want to give the full permissions, that means read plus write plus execute. Read plus write plus execute. Total how much?
7. 7.
Okay. And let's say I don't want any permissions to these people except me. I don't want anybody to see the data in this file, or I don't want anybody to write the data in this file. Okay. And if I don't want to give anything, that means 0. I don't want to use R, just 0. I don't want to give anything, just a dash. That means 0. And again, I don't want to give writable permissions, for example. That means 0. Again, I don't want to give any permissions. That means 0. Okay. Same thing. I don't want to give any permissions to this guy as well. 0, 0, plus 0. So total value 0, 0. Right? What we got at the end? 700. The command to change the permissions is chmod. Modify. You are modifying the file permissions. And what we got the value here?
700.
700. If we have a 700, we should have the easy to user read and write execute. These people dash, right? Let's see. You will understand. It's pretty easy, pretty straightforward. One example will get you. So file1.txt. Now, if I do ls-ltr, what do you guys see? You see that? So the first character is unchanged, right? And the owner, that means this guy, has read, write, executable permissions. That means he can read this file, he can write the data to file, and he can execute this file. He can use that file, that means. Okay. And that owner group, he doesn't have any permissions. That means he cannot read, he cannot write, and he cannot execute. Everybody, other people who has access to this system, they cannot do anything. They cannot read, they cannot write, they cannot execute. Hey, what is that read, write, execute, Vishnu? What are you talking about? Okay, let's see. Let's go to our this structure again. So the read, write, execute means you can change the file, you can use the file, and you can see the content of that file. Let's put 000 for the whole file. Let's see what we are going to get. Okay. chmod. I don't want anybody to have any permissions to that file. Okay. ls-lrt. Now you see that, so nobody can read the file. What's in there? Nobody cannot add a content to that file. That means nobody cannot write the file. Nobody cannot execute the file. Let's see. Can we write the file? That means can we add some content? What we see? Try to warning, changing read-only file. Okay. Try to add this. Okay. Can we add that content? Let's see. I cannot read that file. I cannot see. That means I cannot read because permission denied. This guy doesn't have a permissions to read or write. He cannot see because he doesn't have a permission to see this file. That what means like a readable permissions means you cannot see the content. You don't have any rights to see this file, to add the content to that file, to execute the file. Execute means to use the file. Is that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. If that is make sense, can you guys give me a number? So I want the user should have read and executable permissions. The only other people should have a read and executable permissions. What number should I use?
303.
Read and executable.
303.
Okay, let's see. 303, right?
Yep.
Okay, let's see. What is the command should I use? chmod 303 1.txt. Now if I do ls-lrt, you see that? No, this one, right? This guy, write and execute, write and execute. But I said I want only read, right? So
202 then.
no, you are right. The read means number 4. Write means number 2. Execute means number 1. I was wrong. You were right, actually. So the read means number 4. Write means number 2. And execute means number 1. 4 plus 2 plus 1, that is 7. Now, I want only read and executable permissions mean that means 5.
5. Yeah.
And 5. Good catch. 5 and 5. Let's try to do it. chmod 505 and file1.txt. ls-lrt. Okay. Read and execute. These 3 empty because owner does not have any permissions. And this guy read and execute. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. If that makes sense, can you guys tell me what this means?
Read.
Read. Only read.
Only read.
Only read. Who has only read?
Owner.
Only.
The owner of that file should have only read. That means he cannot change that key. If he add any content, that means the key that we have in our file in the sense in the AWS file, and the key you downloaded are not the same. So I cannot identify your file if you change it. So you cannot change the file. You make sure you are giving these permissions to your file. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Now we are talking about, hey, you are talking about everybody. Who is that everybody? Right? Who is that everybody?
It's no that chmod 40, that is 4 is for write, right? It's all write command, write permission or read.
No,
Read is
4 is just read. 4 is read actually. There was a correction. 4 is just read. 4 is read.
2 is write. Okay.
Write is 2 and execute means 1.
Okay.
Okay. Did you guys understand this concept? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, little bit practice should be okay. Okay. And let's add one more user and we will play around. Let's add one more user. What is the command should I use to add user?
Sudo add user.
Add you.
And
User.
don't laugh. It's a beautiful name. I love it. So sudo add user and give password. Pass wd. I'm going to provide a strong password. Okay, done. So now I have one more user, right? So in the Linux file system, let's say there are a couple of people can have access to that specific directory. By default, there is a Linux file system called /temp. That means it's a temporary file system. Everybody will have access to that file. Okay, let's do ls-lrt. This guy.
Vishnu, I have a doubt here. So I'm new to Linux. So what did you do now? You created a file, and why did you change the password to that file?
I did not change the password to anything. I created a password for the user.
Oh, okay. I'm new to that. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I just created user, right?
Mhm.
And I have assigned a password for that user so that I can switch back to that user. Okay.
Okay.
So this guy right now, this guy, as per our theory, everybody should have a read and executable permissions, right? That means they can see the content, right? And this guy, the owner, can read and execute these permissions, right? Let's change it to writable permissions as well for owner. So the owner should have a complete permissions. So what command should I use?
7.
7. And owner group doesn't have to have any permissions actually.
0.
Okay, everybody can have a read and execute permissions.
5.
File1.txt. Okay, and there is a folder called /temp. That means temporary folder. It is like a desktop in Windows. This /temporary folder, every user will have access to that folder by default. Okay, so what we can do, we can copy this file to /temp. Okay, go to /temp. Okay, I have that file, right? I can chart that file because I have a complete permissions, read, write, executable permissions, right? And switch back to the other user that I've created. Okay.
User_chima.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, switch back to that user. Let me provide password for that user. Now try to see that file, content of that file1.txt. Because I am at the wrong folder. You see that? This file is in /temp. I am in my home folder. So let's go to /temp, cat file1.txt. So I can see the content of this file, right? For now, I can see the content of this file. Let's remove that file. Just remove that file. Okay, this guy does not have a permissions to remove that file. Switch back to EC2 user. Okay, now EC2 user. Remove this file from here. That means I don't have that file. Go back to our home folder again. ls-lrt. Now change the file permissions to this. Everybody cannot see the content of this file. Okay. What is the command should I use? Let's keep the full permissions for the user, like owner, but everybody cannot have any permissions. What command should I use?
700.
chmod 700 file1.txt. Now copy the file to /tem cp file1.txt to /tem. Right now, switch back to user again. Provide the password. Go to /tem. Now try to cat that file. Permission denied. He cannot see the file because this time he does not have a permissions to see the file. He doesn't have a read permissions. He doesn't have a write permissions. He doesn't have executable permissions. Does that make sense?
Can you tell again, Vishnu?
What?
Mm.
One more time?
Yeah.
Okay. So first of all, we need to understand how this read, write, executable permissions works. First, let's understand what is read, what is write, what is execute. Okay. Read means you can see what is in that file. You can see the content of the file. Read means you can see what exactly in that folder or directory. Write means you can add, you can delete, you can make changes to that file basically. Okay. Execute means you can use that file. Let's say you have a .sh folder, right? For example, and even though you don't have to add any content to the .sh keys, or you don't have to read, or you don't have to do anything, but you can still use it. X means executable. That means you can use it. Okay. Are you guys getting me?
Yes.
So the file permissions, right? Let's say in Windows, right? For example, in Windows, desktop folder. Okay. Desktop folder. Sometimes when you download a file and you need to provide the password, right? And sometimes when you download a file and some people cannot see that file and permissions not there. Even when you share some files in what is that, in OneDrive or Google Drive, anything, sometimes you are going to need permissions to see the file, right? No, if I share any file with my Gmail account, I need to make sure I will provide permissions to see that file actually, right?
Yes.
It's the same thing. In order to see the file, you should have readable permissions. These permissions, you should have a readable permissions in order to see the file. Okay. In order to write the content to that file, that means you need to delete something from that file, or you need to add something from that file. For example, if it is a folder, you need to delete a file from that folder. You need to add a file to that folder. That means you can make any changes. In order to make changes, you should have a writable permissions for that file. Okay, I don't need to read it. I don't need to write it, but I still need to use it. So you should have a executable permissions for that file. How I'm going to change that read, write, executable permissions, Vishnu? This is how you can change the file permissions. So the read noted with 4, write noted with the 2, and executable noted with 1. If you want to give full permissions to the owner, that means this guy, these 3 is the owner. 4 plus 2 plus 2. And if you want to give same permissions to this guy, who is this guy? The group this owner belongs to. And he can give same 4 plus 2 plus 1, that is 7. And let's say I want to give everything for this, everybody in this computer as well. That means 4 plus 2 plus 1. How much is that? 7, right? 7, 7, 7. And let's see what we will get if I use 7, 7, 7. chmod 777 file1.txt ls-lrt. You see that what I can see now? Read, write, executable permissions, right? So everybody can see the file. Everybody can write the file. Owner, group, and the person belongs to this group actually. Okay. Everybody can make changes. Okay. Hey, I have created a file, but that file, somebody needs to use that file, not me. And what should I do? You can change the ownership of the file as well. The command to change the ownership of the file, chown is the command. Let's say now I want to change the ownership of the file to sudo chown user Chimala is the owner and user underscore Chimala is the group. Let's change the file. If I do ls-lrt, you see that now this file belongs to, who is the user for this file? Who is the user for this file? You see that user has been changed, user group has been changed, right? User has been changed and user group has been changed. That means you are changing the ownership of that file. chown is the command. In order to change the ownership of the file, you should be a super user, root user. You should be a root user in order to change the ownership of the file. Okay? Any questions from anybody?
But here it is showing easy to user, right? This
No,
is
we change the file permissions for which person? We change the file permissions for this guy, like ownership permissions for this guy. You see that? This is the command. And this is the file we change the ownership. This is that now this is the guy. In the tab, what you will see for this guy? Can you guys see my screen? Who is the user for that file? Who is the owner of that file?
easy to use.
Who is the owner group?
Easy to user.
We change the ownership of that file.
Ownership means that is changing the user. User and owner.
Now the owner, who is the owner? Like who created this file earlier? EC2 user created that file, right? Now I want to give the ownership to different person, different user in the file system, different user in this Linux user, like in this Linux server. Now I wanted to change the ownership of that file. Okay? chown is the command, and this is the owner colon and owner group. Okay? Now I want owner user underscore Chimala, and I want owner group as a EC2 user. What command should I use? What is the command to change the ownership? Can someone tell me? chown. I want user, like owner, user Chimala, but I want a group EC2 user.
So easy to use.
EC2 user, and change that to file1.txt. Now, if I do ls-lrt, what do you see? Owner for this file is user Chimala. The owner group is file1.txt. This file group, like this file belongs to this group basically. Okay. I want to change the owner to. Anybody have any doubts? Madhavi, you guys talking to me like I can listen everything. Is that Madhavi? Anybody have any questions?
No.
No questions. You guys understood?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes, Vishnu.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now